Namaste and welcome to Pramanic Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahasani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self with the help of Vedic astrology. In this video, we are going to talk about fourth lord through the houses. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Our YouTube channel, which allows us to give you more content and you can support me financially. So if you want to support me, go and click on the join button, which will help me to keep creating the quality content. I hope you guys are able to hear me properly. SM Fahad, good evening, sir. Yes, Anamani. Today's topic. Today we are going to talk about the fourth lord through the houses. Loud and clear, Tarun Jain. Thank you. Yes. So post this. Okay, so I was telling you about the membership. So if you are willing to support, you can join the membership. I'll be creating the community posts for the members, and you will get the custom emojis, and you know all that stuff, right? And we'll also be conducting the live session exclusive for the members. I have not mentioned that into that list, but I'm planning to do it from the 1st of August. Okay. A lot of questions, I guess. Okay, so once we complete this live stream, it will be available only to members. Usually I used to post it, but now I'm going to keep this exclusive for the members to have a replay 24/7. Okay, let's talk about this now. So we are talking about the fourth house. We have already discussed about the first house, second house, third house. Fourth house is one of the Kendra house. Okay, it is an important house, and if you look at the position of this house astronomically, it is the place below your feet. We talk about the 10th house as zenith, the place right above your head. Okay, this is the place right below your feet. Okay, and fourth house is about the emotions, is about the feelings, is about the nourishment, is about the home environment, a mother, and it is also about the night time. It is also about your private time. It is about your alone time. Okay, it's how you feel when you are alone. It's about the feelings, which is the, I would say, the key word associated with the fourth house. Fourth house also represents your homeland and the stability. It is the anchoring point of the, it is the anchoring point of the chart, right? 147 Cancer, and it, a Cancer sign has all these significations because it is ruled by moon, which is more about nourishment and the motherly love. Okay, fourth house also signifies about, you can go and look at the fourth house from all the dimensions. Like if you look at the Bhavat Bhavam, fourth house is fourth from the ascendant, but fifth from the 12th, sixth from the 11th, seventh from the 10th, eighth from the ninth, and so on, right? It is the root house of the water element and moksha trikona houses. Okay. Yes. Now, what happens when your ascendant, when your fourth lord, not ascendant, the fourth lord is into the sign, into your first house? Fourth lord into the first house. This is one of the best positions for the fourth house, because first house is also kind of your body, is yourself, right? And now you have, now you have the lord of the fourth house, the home, and the, you know, the lord of the happiness is going into yourself. So it makes you rooted, it makes you, it makes you have an emotional strong foundation, and more than that, it makes you happy. The lord of the happiness, the fourth lord, the Sukesh, is going into the Lagna towards life. Okay. So yes, and it, the first house is also the Kendra house, so it has more impact on your chart. The Kendra houses are the foundation of your chart. The trine houses 159 are the best houses, but these houses 14710 are the important and the significant houses. If you have more and more planets into these houses, it brings in more impact. That's why the the fourth house, the lord of the fourth house is into the another Kendra house. It takes it to the next level. Okay. Next, the fourth lord, if anybody can put timestamps for this, would love that. Okay. Next, the fourth lord is going into the second house. Second house is the house of your uh, resources, tangible resources. It is also about the family, your immediate family. You are born into the first house, ascendant, and now it is going into the, now it is going into the, now it is going into the second house, which is your next immediate family in the childhood. Your childhood friends can be seen with the second house. Second house is the house of your tangible needs, like money, resources, food. Your speech can be seen with this. Okay. So when you have fourth lord going into the second house, it shows that you have a strong emotional foundation. Your family is supporting you, which gives you emotional strength. Your second lord into the, your fourth lord into the second house, you know, both these houses are family houses. So the lord of the fourth into the second, or the second into the fourth, gives great results. Okay. Next is fourth lord into the third house. Third house is the house of your communication, short distance travel, your siblings. It is about, it is called as a Upadesha house. Okay. If you look at the third house, your life physical body is first house. Your life experience started with the first house. Now it is going into the second house. Now it is going into the third house, which is the house of the self. Not self, it is the house of Upadesha. Now you started communicating with your associates. And who are our associates when we are young, just starting our life? Our siblings, right? Our siblings are our associates. So your associates can also be seen with the third house. Third house is also the house of your courage, of your will, of your determination, of your uh, siblings we have covered, and communication. So all these are hobbies. Remember, we talked about the third lord into the fourth, fifth house. The third lord into the fifth house becomes your passion. The lord of the hobbies going into the house of the heart, the fifth house. So it becomes passion. Similarly, the fourth house is also about the heart. The lord of the fourth house, the lord of the heart, is going into the third house. Fourth house is where is your heart. Your heart is into the third house. Third house is the house of siblings. More so, it is the house of things which you love. Your hobbies can be seen with the third house. So when you have fourth lord into the third house, it makes you passionate about something. You have some hobbies which, you know, which triggers that passion, which makes you work towards those passions. Okay, because third house is the house of self effort. Now it is the will backed by energy. It is not only a will, now it is the will backed by energy. Okay, now fourth lord into the fourth house. Now this is one of the best position, because see, whenever a planet or the lord is in its own house, own sign, it feels at home. He loves to be uh, he loves to be into the fourth house. He loves to be in its own house because it resonates with that house. It's like you are in your own house. You can do whatever you want. Nobody is going to judge you. Nobody is going to monitor you. Nobody is going to say anything about you. You can do whatever you want, and you can operate at your highest frequencies. At times you can just be yourself, but for that you have to be at your home. You cannot be yourself at somebody else's home, at enemy's home, or not even your friend's home. Okay, so when a planet is in its own sign, it exhibits all its uh, fourth house, all its um, fourth house capacities, and it makes the fourth house stronger. Okay, so yes, next is fourth lord into the fifth house. By the way, fourth lord into the fourth house is also about the foundation, the emotional strength. Now see, fourth house is the anchoring house. Fourth house is the house which anchors the emotion. It is the anchor of the water element sign, the 4 at 12. We'll talk about it when we'll come across that. uh, we'll come across that. Okay, next thing is, it is fourth lord into the fifth house. See, this is a beautiful placement to have, because fourth house is like your heart, is your where you feel, uh, you have those feelings about that house. So when the fourth lord is into the fifth house, it makes you a loving person. Remember, fifth house is the house of love and romance, but when you have fourth lord into the fifth house, it makes you a lovable person. Everybody loves to be around this person. Everybody wants to everybody wants to be with this person because he has a pure heart. The fourth lord into the fifth house, I have seen people with the fourth lord into the fifth house are genuine people, right? These people are straightforward. Now, depending upon the lord, which is the lord, whether this is the mars going from the fourth into the fifth, or it is the moon going into the from the fourth to the fifth, is important. That will you know add the flavor to this placement. But if you are if you are looking for this placement, this is the best placement for the fourth lord. Next is fourth lord going into the sixth house. Now see, sixth house is the house of your enemies. Sixth house is the house of delays, is the house of dates. And sixth house is and fourth house is the house of your relationship with your mother. Why I said work? Because it is the third aspect. Third aspect is the aspect of the self effort. It is the self effort, right? And now self effort is, fourth lord into the sixth house. Now you have to work on your relationship with your mother. Okay, or you might feel that your mother is disciplined, is extremely disciplined person, because third house is the house of discipline, and also about the direction, about the motivation. The self motivation also can be seen with the third house. But why I'm talking about this third house when we are talking about the sixth house? That is because sixth house is third from the fourth. Okay, so yes, this is the fourth lord into the sixth. Next is, this is one of the challenging positions, fourth into the sixth, which will make you work. But this is an upachaya house. Upachaya houses are the houses which grows with time. Upachaya houses are the houses which grows with time, and it is always improving. It is the houses of self improvement. So your relationship with your mother is always going to improve. The sixth house is also the house which is third from the fourth, which is, what is the third house? Third house is also the siblings, right? So the third from your mother's, third from the fourth, makes it the siblings of your mother, like your mama, mommy, not mommy, mama, mosi, can be seen with the sixth house, right? So you can see, now you can go to any depth. Here comes the bhavat bhava. You can just apply this and go to the in-depth analysis of the houses. That's why when each house has good and bad, because we always talk about the sixth house as a dushtana house, right? But sixth house is ninth, is sixth house is fifth from the second, is ninth from the 10th, right? So it is kind of a bhagya. Whatever you are overcome, what you overcome, the obstacles you overcome, determine your highest material achievement, the 10th house, right? So challenges are going to be there for everyone, and the if you have higher ideals to chase, you will have higher challenges to conquer and overcome, because the bhagya of the 10th is the sixth house of obstacles. That's how it works. Now, the fourth lord into the seventh house. Fourth house is the house of your roots, where you are grounded, where you are, rooted, your roots, your emotional foundation. All these things can be where you are standing on earth. Fourth house is where you stand. The netter is just below your feet. Okay, that's how it is important. That's why it is called your foundation, because you're standing on that part. 10th house is right above in the sky. That is the fame. Like, people know you about what you do. You are an actor, politician, entrepreneur. You can be anyone. People know you because of your karma, right? But who you are at your home is your grounding. Okay, what your parents think about you, what your mother thinks about you. Does your mother feels the same respect for you, right? That is the question, right? People, the people at work might respect you, but for your mother, you may be chintu, you may be someone, just that little boy, right? That's how mothers are. So that's the fourth house, that's the foundation. That is exactly opposite of the 10th house. That is exactly ninth. That is exactly seventh to the 10th house. Okay, now fourth, we are talking about the fourth lord into the seventh house. Fourth house is the root, as we talked about this, as we discussed this. Fourth house is the root and foundation. Seventh house, now see, seventh house is also about the endings. Okay, how the seventh house is about the endings. See, first house is the house of the sunrise. It is the rise of the sun on the horizon. And what happens into the seventh house? Seventh house is the west horizon, where sun sets, where things come to an end, right? So the fourth lord into the seventh house. Seventh house has many significations. Seventh house is about the love and relationship, as we all know. But seventh house is also about the travel. Is about the foreign travel. Seventh house is about the bhavat bhavam for the career. Seventh house is important as a Kendra house because seventh house is 10th from the 10th and fourth from the fourth, right? So seventh house is very important house when it comes to fourth and 10th. The fourth 10 axis is anchored on the seventh house. Your emotions, your career, your reputation, your highest material achievements are tied up to your relationships and your personality. Your personality and your seventh house, the other self, are here, and the fourth and 10th house axis is like here. Seventh house is tying things up from here. Fourth house, Lord, into the seventh house. Here, it kind of becomes challenging because it is opposite in nature. Fourth house is Sukhesh, but it is about home environment. And seventh house is about mm, as we discussed, about travel and other people, and everything which is about social and Kama Trikona house. So it doesn't suits the fourth house, but it is the Sukhesh. So it brings in happiness in the relationship. Okay. And depending upon what planet it is, it can also bring in some good rise in your career as well. But the rise is more about the timing of the rise is more about the Vimshottari Dasha. I always believe that your chart will show how that potential is through yogas, and your Vimshottari Mahadasha will tell you the timing of that. The Vimshottari Mahadasha will tell you the timing. So you have Gajakesri Yoga, you have Buddhaditya Yoga, you have so many yogas. But if you don't going through that Mahadasha, you will most definitely go through the Sukshma Dasha, Paryantar Dasha, even Antardasha of all these planets. But if you're not going through the Vimshottari Mahadasha, you will not fully experience that yoga. You will not experience the promise of that yoga. Okay. So for any timing, always look for Dasha and look for the multiple Dasha. Look for the Vimshottari Mahadasha, look for the Charadasha, then first look for Vimshottari, then Yogini, then Charadasha. And if you know many more, you can simply go and check to see and confirm the timing. Okay. Next is fourth lord into the eighth house. Fourth lord into the eighth house is fourth lord into the eighth house. Fourth house is the house of emotions, and it is also one of the Moksha Trikon house, and it is going into the eighth house. There is one similarity between the fourth and the eighth. Both these houses are deep. Okay, 4, 8, and 12. If you look at these houses, these are deep waters. These are the houses. Even eighth house is the hidden house. Eighth house is the house which is about hidden things like astrology, about psychology, about the mystical things, about occult things, and all sorts of things can be seen with the eighth house. And when you have the Lord of the emotions and the Lord of the happiness into the eighth house, it shows this person have great inclination or a passion because his heart is into the eighth house. Now this person will have great interest into the occult, mysticism. Okay. And these people might be interested into alternate healings because eighth house is also about that. Okay. Next is one more thing about the eighth house. We always talk about eighth house as bad. Eighth house is challenging house, no doubt about that. Why it is challenging? Because it is 12th to the ninth house of your fortune. When we talk about the when we talk about when we talk about the horoscope, it is about your fortune. We look for the bhagya, and eighth house is 12th to that bhagya. That's why it is considered as a bad house. Okay. But if you look at the eighth house and if you try and look at the different 10th house, 10th house, excuse me, 8th house is 11th to the 10th house. 10th house is the house of your career, your rise, your recognition, all those things. And 8th house is 11th, which is like a gain from the career, right? The social connections you might have in your career. All these things can also be seen with the 8th house. In case you have Saturn in the 8th house, it is also going to aspect the 10th house. See, things are going to change. Okay. So yes, fourth lord into the ninth house. Ninth house is one of the most positive houses of the chart because ninth house is the house of fortune, is the house of wisdom, is the house of higher belief, is the house of uh, your parents. Your parents can be seen with the ninth house. A collective of parents can be seen with the ninth house. Now the lord of the happiness, the lord of the mother, the lord of the fourth house, the home environment is going into the ninth house, right? So your heart is into the ninth house now. So it makes these people religious, spiritual to some extent, makes them virtuous. It makes them people with higher values. It makes them people with high moral values. It makes them honest. It makes them happy. Okay, all these things can be experienced with when you have fourth lord into the ninth house. Next is fourth lord into the 10th house. Fourth lord into the 10th house, the lord of the happiness is going into the house of your career. Here it makes person get happiness from what they do. These people these people love what they do and they get great recognition as well. See, 10th house is the highest point in your chart. It is like the brightest star, not star, brightest location, like zenith, which is right above your head. Okay. And now you have fourth lord, the lord of the happiness, into the highest position. Okay. So it gives you recognition. More than anything, it gives you the happiness from the work you do. It gives you that sense of contentment from what you do, and that reflects in your work, and then you get recognition. Okay. The fourth lord into the fourth lord into the 11th house. Fourth lord into the 11th house, when you have this, the lord of the happiness into the house of gains, right? 11th house is the house of gains. It is the social and kamatrikon house, which is all about the fulfillment of desires, and it is about the, it is about your dhanasthan to the 10th house. 10th house is the highest material achievement. 11th house is second to the 10th, is a dhanasthan to the uh, your karmasthan. Okay, and 11th house is 12th to the 12th, so it is the loss of your loss. Okay, then the fourth lord into the 12th. Again, these houses are uh, things are going into the same element. 12th house is a deep water, 4th house is a deep water. Okay, and now you are getting this, the fourth lord, the lord of the emotions, lord of the happiness, lord of your heart, is going into the 12th house. So these people will seek the information, it will seek the happiness in abstract and spiritual things. Okay, on a positive side, it will bring it happiness for them. It will bring in that level of contentment when they are involved into the spiritual and abstract things. Okay, but on the negative side, it also make them feel, follow the abstract things, and those things may not be practical. Okay, there is a thin line between the abstract spiritual and something. Admiral Hill, very good information. Sagittarius 4th house, Pisces 7th, Sagittarius 4th, Pisces 7th, Pisces 7th, 4th lord Jupiter in the 10th house, Gemini. I feel fulfilled when my house of work is enjoyed, very, very successful. Yes. What if 4th lord sun in the 1st house? Okay, when the fourth lord sun is going into the 1st house, it makes you a happy person, it makes you content person. Okay, now let us look at some of the questions. Okay, now we are going to cover the questions. Jyoti Vallapu, 4th lord in the 11th house, Gemini ascendant. Yes, we discussed that. 4th lord Mercury in 11th house. 4th lord Mercury in 11th house. Yes, that's what we discussed. For which 11th house? Yes, that's what we discussed. For which lagna it is? Gemini ascendant, so 4th lord is Virgo, so it is going into Aries. It is one of the position which brings in gains through your networking, because Mercury also has the element of networking. The lord of the 4th house is going into the 11th house. Next is Rakesh Kumawat, 4th lord in Lagna. We discussed about this. 4th house lord into the 1st house makes you happy, content. Chirag Mehta, what about moon as 4th lord into the 12th house, Pisces? Now see, when your 4th lord is into the 12th house, one thing is sure, it is 12th sign is also the 12th house. It also has that element of 12th house to it. When the 4th lord is into the 12th house, it shows a deeper emotional connection with your mother, a spiritual connection with your mother as well. Nagula Srinivas, fourth lord into the 11th house. We discussed that. Okay, what next? I'm a Pisces and my fourth lord is into the 8th house. We discussed that. The 11th house. We discussed that. Okay, what next? I'm a Pisces and my fourth lord is into the 8th house. We discussed that. Jasmine P, fourth lord, Venus in the 7th house. Yes, we discussed that. Next, Admiral Hill, welcome to members. Thank you for joining in. Then we have, do we have any questions? Fourth lord, Venus in the 5th house. Yatharth Srivastav. Yes, it is a good position. It makes you a loving person. Devendra, another great session. And yes, thank you, Devendra ji. I think most of them are fourth lord into the 11th house is what I'm getting this. At least I could read 4 out of them are fourth lord into the 11th house. Another one. Yes, when the fourth lord, see, fourth lord is the house of where your heart is. And now it is going into the 11th house of social interactions, connection with the uh, larger groups, connecting with people, connection with the larger groups, connecting with people, connecting with your tribe, the people, like-minded people who will raise your vibes. Vyam Stauzani, for Taurus ascendant, fourth lord, sun in the 9th house. See, when you have fourth lord into the 9th house, it makes you happy, So one of the Kendra lord is going into another trine lord, into the trinal house, which is one of the most benefic trine house. Going into another trine lord, into the trinal house, which is one of the most benefic trine house. Bhagya, fortune, all which is positive, great, inspiring, high vibrating, can be seen in the 9th house. So it's all good. Okay, so yes, this was fourth lord into the 11th house. Now we will look into the fifth lord in maybe next session. So yes, this was fourth lord into all the 12th houses. See you in the next live stream. Okay, those, if you want to look for the replay of this, you can watch this on my YouTube channel. Sending you tons of positive energy, sending you high vibes. Love and peace. Namaste.